defensively. Not just a little bit either. What do you think? Nope. Can everybody see? Just wanna make sure everybody can see this.
Well, Robin Sadi on that end says the children were calm, but as you can imagine, pretty shaken up. This after their trip to Salisbury Elementary School was cut short at this intersection of Strasburg and Vintage Roads. As crews cleaned up a crash site this morning, 7 people riding inside this Peckway Valley school bus were rushed to the hospital. 3 adults and 4 kids, some in wheelchairs, after their bus overturned.
The students in the bus actually seemed very, very calm.
This is the dump truck police say rolled through a stop sign just before 8:30 this morning, crashed into the school bus along Strasburg Road. The bus skidded, eventually ending up on its side.
Okay, so by the end of this training, we're gonna learn 2 effective observation techniques. Can anybody tell me what they are, the 2 techniques? Can you read? So we're gonna have to you have to look and anticipate what the motorists are gonna do. You have to learn the right of way, the roads, proper minor adjustments. Defensive driving techniques for an intersection. Now, working on an intersection, there's a lot of stuff to know. So, there's a couple of things when you learn the right of way. Well, I should know the right of way. Defensive driving techniques of the intersection. You have to pay attention. You have to manage distractions. You have a bus full of kids and they're fighting. Is that helping you?
No.
No.
If you have a monitor on there and so she sees something it doesn't tell you, is that good communication?
No.
And when you're doing lane changes, can you just change it on a bus?
No.
Or is there a lot of steps you have to do? The right of way gets confusing. So you have to be an effective observationist. So before you get to a stop, you need to focus and look and see. It's not a rush when you get there. If I get to a stop sign, I always look, I'm shorter than everybody else. Okay, there's a lot of people that are a lot taller. So I'm doing what's called rock and roll. And that's what I was taught when I went for my bus driver 30-hour course. I remember the rocking and rolling, and I have to do that. All the buses have some kind of distraction, have some kind of blind spot. So I'm constantly doing this to look. I also am not the bus driver that will just take off. I'm the one that everybody calls and tells me to move along because I'm making them wait too long in line. I want to make sure when I'm getting out on the road that there's nobody near me. Because as soon as I pull out on the road, you can't go fast and you have traffic right behind you. And sometimes you have to stop right away to let kids off. So I'm constantly checking. Now, when I went to my class, there was a gentleman there who actually talked about a red light, green light. As we were kids, do you remember that game, red light, green light, 1, 2, 3?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of the same thing. So you think about that in your head as a red light, green light, and then 1, 2, 3. And you just kind of say that and you look back and forth to make sure you're safe. It's better to be safer than sorry at the end. They also call, that was my partner in crime, his name is Dan, who did this. There was another guy I was in with at my class, and he talked about the Smith system. And that's like you aim high. So when you're sitting in your seat, you're aiming high, which means you're going down farther in the road. You're looking at all intersections. You're looking everywhere that you can look. You're trying to get the big picture, because who's to say the person down on the other side is not gonna pull out in front of you? Or where's that motorcycle going? Who's riding a bicycle? You know, you see kids playing with a ball. You leave yourself in and out. You gotta make sure you have enough room. A bus can't just stop on a dime, can we? We've actually seen that when people pull out in front of us. And we have to make sure that people can see us. It's not always beeping your horn, but it could also just be little things. You can do eye contact with people too. So our biggest distraction, as I said before, is actually that mirror in the middle. And I would like to do a test with all of us driving without that mirror one day. And have all the drivers actually have to drive without that mirror in the middle, and I will be the student in the back of the bus. And I wanna see if you guys can actually drive a bus without having issues, because that's where it is. We depend on that too much. I'm constantly looking at the mirrors outside, always. I'm moving my head all the time, looking, making sure there's nothing close by either. We have to stay focused. I know sometimes it's hard for all of us to do. We have lives, we have families, we get sick, we have stuff on our minds. We have to multitask. I'll admit, I'll be the first person to admit, I am human and I have a hard time multitasking. You know, sometimes I can't chew gum and walk at the same time, but that's okay. I get it. You know, this is very important because you have precious cargo in the back of you, literally sitting behind you, and you are in charge. You're the one with their lives in your hands. They don't realize this, a lot of them don't, and that's why we have a lot of issues on the buses. If you're at an intersection and you have music on, you should turn it down so you can hear. It's almost like how you would cross the train tracks. For those who do cross train tracks, we have that little button on the side of the bus, on the large buses, and it's a noise control, correct? And you can push that, and actually it stops the heat and the fans and everything. It doesn't stop the kids, and it doesn't keep them quiet, which you'd like, but it helps a little bit. So when you have distracted other motorists, that actually is, you can watch people talking on their cell phone. You've seen it firsthand, how they do it all the time. Constantly on talking about, or putting makeup on, eating, drinking, having coffee, having a conversation, looking behind them. So how do we stay focused? Well, we have to kind of anticipate what they're gonna do. And that's kind of hard, but all of us have been driving for a long period of time. And if you just look at the driver's head, sometimes you can tell if they're not paying attention to the road ahead of them, if they're doing like, you know, or looking down. Looking down is a big one. Be aware of vehicle signs, turnings. A lot of times what they do is they'll put the left blinker and they turn right. Or they put the right blinker and they turn left.
Or they turn and don't even have a blinker on.
Or they don't have, yes, they don't have a blinker on, they just turn. My personal pet peeve is when they pull out in front of you to pull in the next road. That's my big one. That's my big one. Sometimes you can also watch clues on the roads, different signs. You know, coming, maybe there's a children in the street and they have slow children ahead. I know there's a few spots for those. And then when you get into, I would say, I'm thinking more of like when you go into Millerton, especially on the weekend.
Yeah.
You have people walking all over the place. They're not paying attention to you. You don't have to be a bus, you could just be a regular car walking. And they're all over the place. They feel like they have the right of way. Don't always assume that they see you just because they're there or they're in a walkway. Doesn't mean anything. You definitely take extra precautions. Cyclists, I've actually had an incident on Old 22, and I went past him, and he just stayed right in the middle of the lane, and I just stayed behind him and had to go all the way, because Old 22, there's just, I'm not passing. You can't, it's a bad area. A lot of like corners, right, curves.
Hills.
So, yep. So, a direct communication. So direct communication could be verbal and nonverbal. And when you are, turn signals, right, you can do your turn signals, you can do your flashers. What would flashers mean? What was it? Caution. What is, when I blow my horn? Beep.
Stop.
Or if I go and I go, beep! Okay, there you go. I just wanted to wake you up.
I was awake.
I was asleep.
Okay, well now you're awake. Just eye contact too. I know you think it's kind of funny, but you actually do. You can actually see another person in a car and see eye contact and see, kind of figure out what they're gonna do. Sometimes there's hand signals, nice, decent gestures. I'm a big person. If you stop, when I let my kids off, I wave to everybody, so I have a lot of people I wave to all the time. And then when the drivers get in their seat, they're like, thanks, Chrissy. Thanks, Chrissy.
You don't just do that when you stop. You do that going down the road.
I do it all the time. I'm just a friendly person. I can't help it. So,
That's how I know when it's her.
waving is nothing bad. That's a good thing. What if I do an open palm and before the kids, I get to their stop and I actually do open palm. Open palm. What do you think that means?
Wait.
Yep. Wait. Stop. Yep. Holding up a finger. Nice finger. Wait a minute. Yep.
Close fist to stop.
Okay. I have open palm. Stop. I'll look on that. So let's do some indirect communication. There's a slow vehicle. Can you turn around? Can you indicate that it's a slow vehicle? Can you go around them? If you're on a single lane on 22 and there's a slow moving vehicle and you're full of kids on the bus, you're allowed to cross the yellow lines and go around them.
Never cross the yellow line.
No. If there is, lane choices, you have to make sure you make that lane choice ahead of time. There was a bunch of us that used to go to the city, to the Bronx Zoo, and everybody, say there's 5 buses. The first bus would actually let everybody else know that we had to get into whatever lane. So the person at the end or in the middle would try to get in there and then everybody would follow. That helped everybody get in that same lane together. But when you're by yourself, how do you do that? How do you get into that lane that you have to get into? Use your blinker. Do you just pull in? You have a large bus. I'm talking large bus. So can we just pull right in? No.
Put your direction on.
If there's enough room, but what are you doing also? Are you just pulling in? Are you looking at all
You're
your
looking all around.
all around? You're
Front,
checking all
back,
your mirrors.
side, everything.
So I'm not only checking my right side, I have to also check my left side to make sure. Why am I making sure? So the back end doesn't tail it, goes out from the tail. When we do U-turns, is it easy for us to do U-turns? No, I particularly don't think a large bus should do a U-turn. I think the only U-turn we should do is right here in the school, because it's big enough. When we're slowing down, do we just slam our brakes on? Or do we slow down gently? Gradually, thank you. If you're about to stop and there's something hazardous in front of you, right? Slow down. A lot of times I put my 4-ways on, just to let them know. Might come to a stop or there's an accident ahead of me. Avoid doing jerky, motions when you're doing that. Cause you might not feel it, but the kids in the back will feel it. And if your monitors will feel it too. If you're constantly on and off the brakes, or if you're constantly just doing that.
They used to call those brake checks.
Not anymore, but that's true. So to communicate with, people and bicycles. This is where we can make definitely eye contact. I'm making eye contact to all of you, trying to. I'm hoping I'm not putting everybody to sleep. That's my biggest thing. When you are parked next to other vehicles, you have to be cautious. Even in our bus garage, we should really be cautious with each other. You don't know if people are coming and going, especially when it's dark out, it's hard to see. When you're parked next to somebody, it's hard. Even for, like vans, when you're going into your schools and you go out of district and you're in there, you have to be careful of your parking areas. All the cars coming, people coming and going, you have teachers, you have, well, like Vinny, you have all the construction going on there. It's a mess, you have to pay attention to everything. So of course, at night, you're tired. We're all tired at night, because we're paying attention to what we're doing. Okay, so traffic lights. So this is what I was trying to tell you about scale lights. And, there's all different kind of lights out there. They call them quirky lights. Sometimes there's different things. So like I said, the Japanese, they don't have green. They have a blue in the world. And they have it, not up and down. So I asked Google, and I got different ones. This is in London. It looks like a Christmas tree, but it's not. And actually, they don't use it. It's a famous sculpture, but it's in there. Then there's one in Germany. They're different, have different sayings. Not that I know how to drive in Germany, but I just wanted to get a couple little ideas so everybody can see. Okay, the only one that really matters to us is if you go to, let's see, 432 Thompson Street in Syracuse, New York, they actually have a green light is on top. The reason the green light is on top is because they used to be all Irishmen living in there. And they said the red was the British, and they broke it. So then they turned around and they wanted green. So that's the only time, the only place you'll see it anywhere is green is at 432 Thompson Street in Syracuse, New York. We still have it today. I thought that was pretty cool. So at intersections, we're gonna talk again about, at an intersection, when you're there, you need to make sure you go up to the intersection and you're cautious. You need to look around several times. I look at least 3 times both ways. I get, different drivers in the way, cause I'm keeping them behind me longer than I want to. But I'm making sure I get out to the main road. When we're leaving Pate Road, we're going onto a main road. Pate Road has a stop sign and, right? Yeah, a stop sign. We have to stop. Anybody on Route 22 doesn't have to stop. So if you're going left, you have to go over both, to get onto that lane. You have to make sure there's no traffic coming either direction. When you're taking a right, you have to make sure you can see as far back as you can because those trucks don't wanna stop for nothing.
Yeah,
And
you
they're
have to get,
doing-
you have to get ahead of the school bus. We took school sign down there so you can see.
Yes, yes,
They didn't put that in a very good spot.
no.
And once in a while, somebody will park.
Oh, I hate when they park right there too, cause then you're
Yeah, you can't
you're
see.
trying to look around the bus or around the truck that's there, and you can't see, and you can't, I know.
If you head south there, you gotta watch it too, you gotta look to your right, because I find there's some people that pass, and then, accelerate to go past.
Yeah.
It's about, as I'm about to pull out, there's a person passing another car right there, and they'll pass.
Right, yes, so right, coming up that hill, they're in your lane, I've had that a couple times, and they're right there, you're like, ooh, yeah. Yep, it's just one of those things, we're trying to look ahead and trying to feel like what the other people are doing, and it's kinda hard sometimes. So the right of way is, kind of confusion, there's confusion in that. At a 4-way stop, who goes? Does anybody know who goes? Yeah, most people don't know that, but if you're a bus and you know that you should go, but somebody else decides to go first, are you gonna go in front of them? No, I'm gonna actually stop and make sure I can't get that way. At a T intersection, that's what we're just talking about out here. T intersection. At a Y intersection, I was thinking, when you're going on 199 to 308, there, where you have the fork in the road, sometimes you have to pay attention because people are running that even though it might be yellow, not red yet. You have to watch that area too. And then traffic circles.
Not by Vassar.
I was thinking by Vassar, by Arlington High School.
Yeah.
That's really bad too. You have to pay attention. Not only do you have a yield, but you also have, you're trying to come out, but you have people that are just going around. And they don't even put their blinkers on or nothing. So you have to try to be like that person, like, do I go out now? Do I not go out now? It's very difficult.
Yeah, you don't know where anybody's going.
No. And turnarounds, I mean, you'll see these, if you go to Catskill, you see that they have like a turnaround. I like that one. It's a little bit better. But, Arlington High School is not. I can tell you that whole area. I didn't like that. So they're right away, four-way stop. The intersection is most common. Traffic is controlled. Controlled by traffic signals. So sometimes there's lights and stuff there too. We have to pay attention. Just because it's green doesn't mean you can always go. And controlled by stoplights, right away, order to reach the intersection. I like this one. I don't want to do that now. Okay, so now we're talking about the right of way at a T intersection. We just talked about that. Right away at a Y intersection. There's different kind of Ys. I just think of, the one there in, Rhinebeck, on 308. Going toward Rhinebeck. And traffic circles.
You have the one at 199 and 22, that's a line, and
That's a hard one, yeah. That's a really hard one. Yeah, even though I'm yielding, I'm coming off from 199 to going to 22, I stop most of the time because you just don't know. And a lot of times, of course, if a car or truck sees that a bus is there, they're speeding up even faster. Oh, yeah, they don't like stopping there. That's a bad one, yeah. Yep. Okay. Okay, we'll do the crosswalks. I don't know why that was, unless the video was supposed to be longer, I don't know. So the right of way of crosswalks. Who has the right of way in the crosswalk?
But they have to be in the crosswalk.
Yes.
That's what you think.
But if they're there waiting, are you gonna stop?
Yes.
Yeah.
If they are in the front of the if they are in the crosswalk, waiting, yes.
Yep. And Amenia, if they're not exactly in the crosswalk and they're there and you see that you have this idea that they're gonna move in front of you, are you gonna still go or are you gonna stop? Yeah, you just have to kind of pay attention and have that eye contact. That's very important, to make sure you have that eye contact. You gotta, it's not almost like, you're doing a million things at one time. This job is really important, that's why you guys are professional.
And they're also supposed to dismount from the bicycles and cross.
They're supposed to, and they don't.
That's scary.
Yeah, I know, they don't do that.
Yeah, real scary.
I see them do, even skateboarding across.
They don't pay no attention, they go right.
Nope.
They don't care.
Nope.
They will do it.
Okay. This video is, it talks about like a second pair of eyes. Nope.
New York cops tonight tried to hunt down a driver of a yellow school bus who mowed down a 68-year-old woman in the Bronx, and new surveillance video, you saw it, showing the woman just moments before she was struck and killed. It happened this morning in the Castle Hill section when the victim was crossing the street. Eyewitness News reporter Rob Nelson is on the scene. Rob?
Well, residents in this neighborhood tell us this has been a dangerous intersection for years. Buses are not even allowed here on this street. They say the ones that do travel down here are going too fast, not obeying the stop signs, and tragically, more proof of that danger. Early this morning, an elderly woman struck and killed by a school bus. This is surveillance video from the home of a nearby resident that captures the horrifying moments just before 10 a.m. when a school bus runs over the 68-year-old victim in the middle of an intersection and then just keeps going.
This intersection has always been bad.
The man whose home camera captured the accident did not want to go on camera himself, but said the tragedy here at the corner of Avmeyer and Story Avenues is just the latest evidence of traffic dangers plaguing this neighborhood.
And that was just recently, actually it was on the news not long ago either, but that was in 2019. So that driver obviously didn't pay attention, didn't look anywhere.
The pedestrian didn't look either.
No,
Right.
just walked right out. Yep.
The bus was already in the crosswalk.
Yes.
She stepped out.
Yep, they just, that's how a lot of them are. You just have to like, you have to be like a, almost a human, superhuman to see this stuff. So, the right of way, as you can control highways. So as you're entering and leaving, when you're entering the highway from a ramp, are you gonna go fast or slow?
Slow.
When you're entering the ramp to get onto the highway, you're gonna try to get fast, cause you have to get into that, you have to get your blinker on so you get into the get with the regular flow of the traffic. As you're coming off the ramp, that's when you go slow, because you have to make sure you're slowing down to get into the regular traffic. Yield signs at the highway entrances require extreme caution. Why? Why do we think that? A yield sign, does that mean you can just go automatically? No. Stop and just check to make sure you can go. When you're entering an intersection, it's almost, I look at it as you're entering, train tracks. You're looking for everything to make sure. On train tracks, when you're doing railroad crossings, you're looking to make sure about the train and everything. Well, when you're crossing an intersection, you need to make sure cars, people, animals, who's to say wheelchairs sometimes, or even the motorized wheelchairs. You wanna make sure that you do not reach that point of no return. Lane changes, we talked a little bit about it. You have to determine when you're gonna go to the lane change. Make sure you do it enough ahead of time. Never change lanes inside the intersection. Why? Do we know why?
Yeah, there's too much going on at the intersection, you change your lanes, you don't have an accident.
That's right. Perfect. So when you're turning at, intersections. Sorry. Okay, so when we're turning at the intersection, we have to make our right turn signal, and we gotta do that in advance to make sure that we can see and everything around us. Even though we're going right hand, we just can't take that into consideration that we can just do it. We have to wait and make sure we don't see cars in the way or backing out of something. We have to make sure about parked cars, nobody's running out in front of you. And beware of people everywhere, even kids. Especially now it's getting nice out, kids are everywhere. When you're turning a left signal, you have to make sure for oncoming traffic too, it's clear out of your way. You advance into the intersection at the left, and the rear wheels remain in your lane when making the turn. Check your mirrors, always check your mirrors for that tail swing clearance, always. You don't wanna hit something. Off track, the front wheels make an arc, the rear wheels follow a more diagonal path. And at sharp turns, you see how it is, if you do a sharp turn, on especially big bus, little bus, even your own car, you do a sharp turn and you're going around, usually you get the corner of some sort, right? On a large bus, you have to make sure that tail swing. That tail swing's very dangerous. If you're not paying attention and you're too close, you don't wanna hit somebody or hit parked cars. I just remember going down to the city and how hard it was. I actually remember being one of those drivers that went to Canada, and it was really tight there. That's when I decided I thought my first year going there, I was going to, I cry myself in the bus, and then I thought, I was like, well, I wanna go home, but I can't, I'm in Canada, I'm not even home. And I've got like a pack full of kids on this bus that are in an art gallery. I came close to hitting something. It was, their roads are so tiny, you can't prepare yourself no matter what you did. I actually bought books and everything to learn about Canada and Montreal, and nothing prepared me until I drove there. When I drove there, I knew. I definitely knew it was like, people there are allowed to ride bikes with traffic. They're allowed to, skateboard. You'd be amazed what they do, in traffic. They're allowed to do this. So it made it so much harder driving through there. Okay, so this is the case study, in Rochester. It's actually in your paper. We are actually gonna do, the fire truck was responding to emergency runs, and the light, and the school bus driver does not hear or see the fire truck right away. So 29 students were on board with minor injuries. So we're gonna do just a group activity together. Somebody wants to just fill one out for me? If you guys don't want to, it's fine, but I need to have something filled out, so I can have it to send. But we're gonna do it together. It's in the papers, but you don't have papers, you can use these. So we're just gonna do it as a large group. I didn't think we would do it as a small group. I just figured it was much easier. So it says the fire truck responding to emergency ran a red light and collided with 65 passenger school bus and 29 students were on board. The school bus driver did not hear the fire truck because her view was obstructed by an automotive service building. The fire truck broadsided the school bus, pushed it sideways and flipped it on its side. The fly section of the fire truck ladder caught the bus crossbar. The school bus came to a rest against the Eastman Kodak building. There were more minor injuries such as scrapes, lacerations, bruises, and a few broken bones. One student suffered a head injury and was hospitalized. So just about like,
That's what we're on. Going back.
okay, so I thought we'd just do like a large, group, and we just figure out how to, So what do you think is wrong with that intersection? What was actually the problem with that intersection?
Building.
The building, big problem. Why do you think the school bus driver did not hear the fire truck?
Too much noise.
She had 29 students on that bus. She probably couldn't hear nobody on that bus, no. Yep. Should that school bus driver have anticipated the action of the fire truck?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, yes and no.
yes and no, like always, you always have to make sure as you're coming to an intersection to prepare yourself. You never know what to expect. Could be a cop, you know, running after somebody, you just don't know, or somebody running from the cops. Could the school bus driver have done anything to avoid this collision?
Creep through the intersection.
Very good. If there was an antenna on the board, what would that person might be able to do? Attendant, meaning monitor. What could that person have done?
You may have heard that.
They may have, yeah, maybe they heard, and then they could actually tell the bus driver, you know, I hear something, slow down, or cautious, or, yeah, very good. And effective mirror use. Federal standards require the mirrors to show seated driver. You have to, so when you're sitting in your seat, you should be able to see 0 feet, 6 feet,
No touching.
sorry, 0 feet, 6 feet, and 12 feet in front of you. With your mirrors, you should be able to see on the side, a foot on each side, up to 6 feet, going 6 feet on both sides. Behind you should be up to like 200 feet behind you. This is just going over rocking and rolling like we've done before. Rolling blind spots. So rolling blind spots, that's actually interesting. When you come to an intersection, and actually like a Y intersection, you can't really see everything. And even though you're just kind of like, sometimes you might just have to roll a little bit just to kind of, but don't go right away. I always pay attention. I guess I'm a very cautious driver. So this is another one we're gonna do. It's a case study in Oklahoma. So in Snyder, Oklahoma, 1993. How many kids were in high school in 93? 1993. Where were you in 1993?
I was 5.
Okay.
I was in the
1993, I got married. So in Snyder, Oklahoma, 1993, a school bus was traveling at the same speed as a tractor trailer on a perpendicular road. Both vehicles were traveling at approximately the same speed. The tractor trailer was in the school bus's rolling blind spot. The school bus stopped at the intersection, was so brief that the tractor trailer continued to be in the school bus blind spot. Driver failed to rock and roll the seat. The bus entered the intersection in the path of an 18-wheeler, killing 4 children. So, I was gonna do this also as an activity, but we'll just talk. What do you think the contributors to this intersection collision was? I think the blind spots. Blind spots, right? Don't know how the intersection was, but even if you just kind of move up a little bit and rock, I'm a big rocking and rolling, just constantly. I'll show you. You know, you're sitting in your bus, okay? I'm short, so I'm constantly going like this. You know, certain buses, they move with me, the seats move with me. Yeah, you know who it is, yep. So I'm constantly like, wow, I need to go further here. But yeah, so it's that rocking and rolling. I just remember learning that from Ernie Ashbeck when he trained me, and I've done it since day one. And I'll be going on 19 years, and I just know the rocking and rolling. I actually like the 1, 2, the red light, green light, 1, 2, 3, because we all played that game at one time. So, should the school bus driver have anticipated the action of the truck? Well, if she's at the stop,
You can see him.
right, but if you're at the stop, you know every vehicle has a blind spot. I personally do not like riding in wide-body buses. I feel that they have more spots in them, and I'd rather take a large bus. Yep, I can turn that large bus around better and not have to back up as much as I do my own vehicle, okay? That's all I can tell you there too. I love those gears. We already did enough of this. We did the. So intersection tips. So scan far ahead carefully to get the big picture. That's the big picture. You're in it. It's in your brain and you're looking and you're competing in it. That's your picture. As you enter the intersection of the lane, you need immediately to follow. Cover that brake. You just never know. So I'm gonna get going, but I just don't know. I might have my foot like just there, just in case. Beware of the stale traffic lights. Like that one right now is stale. It's not moving. But when you see a green light and you know it's been green a while, not like I do in my own car, okay, I'm sorry, I wanna like hurry up and get out of it. But on a bus, you really know you're gonna get the red light. In my case, I always get the red light on a bus, I don't know why. Beware of, where did that went? Follow all the right ways of the laws and the rules. And rock and roll in the seat to avoid rolling blind spots. Do you have any questions? This, we have to do a little test. Yeah, I know, everybody's saying, it's okay. It's okay.
David, you got that?
If you can take one and pass it along, please.
If you don't, just put it
Pass it
in.
along. Yeah, we're gonna do it together. Oh, take one and pass it along. And take one and pass it along. Yeah, I have to pass it back.
Make sure you put your name.
Right?
Okay, if you need pens, I have them right here on the table, grab a pen. So. Turn it around. No, turn it around.
Flip it over.
One
Flip it
and two.
over. Ooh, he doesn't
You
either.
do. Okay.
I apologize, David.
No, yours is the one and two, there you go. Then we have an extra one? Take it over here.
Dave, only you.
I'm good to go.
Only you.
Okay, you caught me. Okay, so one, an effective observation technique when approaching the intersection is C, scanning for any hazards in the intersection. A sign and the other motorists may be distracted. A, driver looking at the map. B, head moving as if talking to a passenger. C, all the above. Direct communication behind the wheel. Using the horn, constant speed of the vehicle, using the two-way radio, or none of the above. How about beep? There we go. In a traffic circle, you must yield on oncoming traffic, travel in a clockwise direction, not stop, all the above. Rolling blind spot occurs when one vehicle is the intersection and the other approaches at a 90-degree angle. Both vehicles approach the intersection at 90-degree angles and are traveling similar speeds. Both vehicles approach the intersection at 90-degree angles and one is traveling faster than the other, or none of the above. B. B. B.
You don't travel in a clockwise direction in a circle.
You go counterclockwise and go.
That's not even question 5, so why are we
It's
still
not
talking
even a
about that?
question, so. Come on, let's go on.
Traveling clockwise.
Blind spot.
Well, these are the
That's the
answers,
trick
sorry.
question.
I don't know how you got me there.
It's a misprint. Go to number 6.
I'll look at that later for you, gentlemen. So 6, right of way at a Y intersection is controlled by stop signs, not controlled, right of way doesn't apply, or none of the above. A, stop sign.
Stop sign.
And Indirect communication behind the wheel is making eye contact, activating the brake lights, slowing the vehicle, or none of the above. Nope.
No, that's indirect.
Slowing the vehicle.
Indirect communication.
Indirect.
Slowing the vehicle.
A?
C.
Let's see. Slowing down the way.
Making eye contact would be a direct.
At a four-way stop intersection controlled by a stop sign, who has the right of way? The person on the left has the right of way, the person on the right has the right of way, the person who arrives at the intersection first, second,
First.
etc. Order, yes, C. Very good. Okay, number 9. People always have the right of way when they're in a crosswalk.
They are on the crosswalk.
They are on the shoulder of the road. Crosswalk, very good. A. You should never change lanes in an intersection. True or false? True. Very good. Make sure your name's on the ID feeds back, if I have to hand them in. Okay? So the conclusion. So we're gonna watch this, actually, I forgot to show you another slide. Get the big picture. This is an intersection collision. School bus was making a left-hand turn.
Oh, that's what it look like. Oh.
I think that's a little scary. This is what happens at an intersection when you're not using your every defense techniques. So, conclusion, intersections are hazardous. They are. Approach them with a maximum caution. Reduce speed and cover the brake. Maintain adequate space around the vehicle. Use defensive driving techniques. And do not forget, rock and roll. Or red light, green light, 1, 2, 3. And get the big picture. You're the movie. You're actually taking the movie, and it's the big picture you're watching. Thank you. This is part 1. This is our first part. You guys can have a break, and then we'll get ready for our second.